If you believe that much in Billy, and I guess if you believe in any of these guys, well, what are you hiding from? Why are you extending them if you don't want people to know if you're embarrassed by it?
Okay, I'm going to raise my hand and ask a question. Has Michael Reinsdorf ever conducted an interview on the record about the Bulls?
What I like, we'll start with the positive, is that he's the second youngest player in the draft. He doesn't turn 19 until December. That's good. There's, youth and length and some athleticism in there, so okay. And they obviously like to... and they've got, and every GM does. I mean, this front office very much has certain parameters that they're looking for, right? They're looking for young players like that are wings. That's what they keep drafting, and I understand that in this era of basketball. I do. There seems to be a little bit of redundancy, though, in kind of what they target and who they're going for. So I don't know. What did you guys think? What was the big takeaway that you had from the draft?
To your point there about the style of player they're looking for, I would be okay with that if they came with a little bit more offensive touch or ability to score the basketball. Like the thing that we've now seen, this is the third player Eversley and AK have drafted, which it seems to be lengthy wing defender with no offensive game for the most part. No outside shot, no ability to get a bucket on their own. Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, and now Essengue, right? Like, those are three players. And, hell, just throw Patrick Williams into the mix, too.
I would.
He doesn't have an offensive game either.
No, I would throw Patrick Williams into that. I agree with
Matas does.
Yes.
And you saw it immediately when he started to get minutes from Billy. He is out there aggressively going to the basket. He has offensive moves. He's not polished. He's not finished. He hasn't grown into his body yet. I think he's going to get there. So he's different. But it feels like a young player who doesn't have an offensive game, hoping that he learns that at some point at the NBA level, I guess is okay, except for the fact that he weighs 196 pounds at 6'10". I mean, Now, I do know the Ringer wrote about this, that a part of the pre-draft scout on Essengue is that he is a bit of a free throw merchant, which is surprising for a guy who doesn't have any weight on his body because he's constantly throwing himself into other bodies and getting the result of fouls from that. And he was compared to his free throw rate being around someone like a Julius Randle, who Julius Randle has meat on his bones.
Big body.
So he can take the beating and the constant contact offensively trying to draw fouls. So it'll be interesting to see if that turns out to being something, and that's what they wrote, is that is definitely something advanced scouts see, and him competing in a league in Europe, getting to the free throw line the way he did, even though he scored 10 points per game, it's something that eventually translates to having success in the NBA. Now, whether or not he'll be able to put enough weight on to take that beating in the NBA is a different story, but he clearly is a project.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not lying about the direction of how they want to handle building this team. It's from within, and it's hoping that one of these players that they've drafted turns into a star, because they told us on Wednesday night that they're not going to go out in free agency and do anything. And they're trying to make trades, but it doesn't seem like they're great at pulling those trades off.
Right.
So it's all going to come from within. That's my initial thought.
Yeah, and I think that's I don't know anything about Essengue. So, I can't make an evaluation of Essengue, much like tricky. You can. But I know what they're trying to do, and I know what Mark Eversley said after the pick was made and said that they're a franchise in transition. Okay, then transition then. Then sell off Kobe if you have to, and Lonzo, and Vooch, because we just talked about it. This is going to be one of the deeper drafts in a long time. Some NBA writers are saying that the deepest in over a decade. So
this is the time to do it.
Do it. If you're going to do it, go get first-round picks for some of these guys, and you've got an expiring contract with Vooch. If you're going to re-sign Kobe, if not, if you find out from him that he's going to want to hit the market, trade him as well for a first-round pick that you can get for him, and really go into this draft with some ammo. If you're preaching, which again...
And don't make the play-in tournament.
Well, yeah, that's the point, is you're preaching financial flexibility, okay? Because if you're not going to go the route of looking at it and saying, look, the Pacers are not going to be very good without Halliburton. The Celtics have traded off everybody. The Knicks don't have a coach yet. Right. So, if you're not going to say this is an opportunity to go and get to the 3rd seed or get to the 4th seed in the East, then tear it down and go into this draft with 3 or 4 first-round picks and do something about it.
If we piece together based on the sourced material out there on who they've been shopping, it sounds like that's what they're trying to do.
Right.
We knew at the trade deadline they were trying to move Vooch.
Right.
It seems like that's been a rumor that's been out there that Golden State has wanted Vooch for quite some time, and for some reason that hasn't happened. Now, in the next week with free agency, if there's a sign-in trade with Jonathan Kuminga and they are able to move Vooch out to the Golden State, like maybe that happens. I'm not thrilled with Kuminga, Carm. I know you like Kuminga a little bit more.
I do.
But he would add to another long, athletic, young player that could go to the mix with what they have. On draft night, on Wednesday night for their first round, Cowley had the report that the Bulls were shopping Kobe White and Lonzo Ball. Yeah. Okay, so if you're able to move off of Kobe and Lonzo and Vooch in this offseason, what do you have next year? I mean, you're really saying without saying that you're tanking.
Tanking, of course. I think you absolutely
That's fine,
are.
And I know they're never going to say that. If the sourced rumor is that they're trying to move off and they're not going to re-sign Kobe White, and they're moving off of him and Lonzo and Vooch, that team's not winning 30 games next season. They're going to win like 24 games.
That's fine.
And Matas is going to be the reason you watch every night to see if he can develop into something.
I think the fans...
they'll likely they're going to re-sign Giddey. Yeah. So it's going to be Giddey
and Matas.
And a bunch of stretch 3s and 4s who can't really shoot from the outside, and they're going to try and play fast. And that's what they're going to do.
I think that fans would be much more into that. And they would buy into
it's a direction.
It's a direction.
It's,
That's
yes,
right.
it's a direction.
It's and I'm sorry, making the play-in tournament is not a direction.
No,
don't think it for 1 second. And I think Bulls fans are, for by and large, even very normally optimistic Bulls fans are frustrated and done with this nonsense.
Sylvie ran a poll yesterday.
2 days ago, wasn't it?
No, yesterday. Because he heard our conversation, and it was like, if the franchise...
People care?
Do people care? The question was, do you care about the Bulls? It was simple. It's over now. 82% said no. I mean, 82%.
So they're tapped out.
That's what they've done, and that's
They're
what
exhausted.
I kept pointing this out on draft night. Since 2015, something has changed with the franchise. Before 2015, they actively tried to win. They didn't accomplish the task, and they didn't sign the biggest free agent on the market, but they were in the conversation in 2010 for LeBron and D-Wade. They didn't get them, but they tried. In 2014, they tried to land Carmelo Anthony.
Yes, they did.
They were trying, and something in the last 10 years has happened. First of all, they've had 3 head coaches. They've only made 2 playoff appearances. They've been 95 games under 500 since 2015. But it really feels, and we were talking with Waddle and Sylvie about this yesterday, something at the top has changed in the last 10 years. For some reason, Michael and Jerry are now dictating a different philosophy and what they want to accomplish with this team.
How many cash deals have they made in that time?
A lot of cash
3,
considerations.
Right? At least, maybe 4?
You're never in the Bulls are never in the conversation anymore for top free agents.
No.
10 years ago, that wasn't the case.
That's true.
10 years ago, they signed Carlos Boozer. They signed Paul Gasol. And I get it. Bulls fans, shut up. I get it. Boozer wasn't great. They still signed a guy who was probably the 5th best free agent on the market.
Yeah, but it was because after they were in the mix for LeBron and Wade.
They were in that back room at Joe's, you guys.
Exactly.
And they literally left that meeting thinking we did this. LeBron and Wade are going to come here. And it didn't. And I know, close, no cigar, who cares? But, that was real.
They were
actively
actively
in that
trying.
room, they thought they were going to sign those 2.
Exactly. And so, Carm, I'll ask you, what has changed with this team in the last 10 years? Why is it middling as the 10th seed in the conference, only worried about scouting young players and hoping they develop, and that being your philosophy on how to win? How did it turn to that?
Could it be Michael has more of an influence on the day-to-day operations over that time period, and he's worse than his dad?
Who would have thought that the kid would be
worse?
Right.
I don't
thought
know what
that when
else
he
it
took
is.
over, I thought that he would want to have his own legacy and to win. That's what happened.
Because there's no Ishbia plan with him. He's the owner.
I know.
He's the owner.
But his influence to why in 2020, when they made the decision to go to AK and Eversley and switch up from guard Pax, it was because he was sick of hearing how this was once a great basketball town and venue and all this stuff, and they were going to change things.
It's gotten so much
What
worse.
the hell
gotten
has
worse.
happened?
It's a great question. I can't think of anything else other than Michael's had more direct influence on day-to-day operations over that time span. What else could it be?
Are they just worried about the influx of cash because they're going to spend so much to build out the area around the UC? That construction project that's going to take place?
And they're financing them themselves, right? That's not...
Like, is that why? Because, and I think Sylvie did a very nice job yesterday afternoon of pointing out, when you trade a pick for cash considerations, that's not money that goes to the salary cap or it goes to anything basketball related.
No.
It goes directly into the pocket of the owner.
That is cash
it's
to the
just
owner.
profit.
That's exactly right. That is cash to the owner.
And it's not the first time they've done it.
They've done it a handful of times.
Yeah.
Boy, were they mad when we called them out for the Jordan Bell stuff. Ooh, when they sold that pick.
Yeah, remember that
Jordan
was
Bell,
the Jordan Bell with the Warriors.
They
right?
were not happy at the
But
Advocate
like,
Center.
if you want to be the Thunder, if you want to be the Pacers, that's fine. If you want to build that way and say, look, we're not going to go out and get superstars, that's fine. But you need to make a move now before the season starts, or at least at the deadline, to make sure that you can go and take advantage of this draft to become that. Because drafting guys 12th every single year isn't going to get you to become the Thunder or the Pacers.
Or you have to be better at what you're talking about, Adam. You have to be better at drafting those players and developing them.
Like,
Which
because
they haven't done.
Yeah.
Because
they haven't.
If it were the Pacers, Dalen Terry would be a starting two guard for the Bulls right now, like Neesmith or Nimhard. Or,
Right. Can you
Like,
imagine? I mean, it's a great point.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
like if you want to be them, then the players that you draft immediately have to have impact because you're doing the work and bringing in the right players who are not just athletic wings who can't shoot and who may or may not have started for
Right.
their college team.
And what you shouldn't do is find a player like Matas Buzelis, have a great year from him in the second half. His development is going great. Kobe White's developing into a player, and then you fire your player development guy and don't replace
they fired
him.
the shooting guy too, right?
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah,
that was who is it? I'm blanking on his name right now. Yeah, I know
Patton.
exactly. Patton, right? Yeah. What happened there? That seems odd.
I mean, Cowley,
Was there a
Chris
little
has
bit
said
about-
it-
Cowley
no,
was-
Chris has said it before, and Cowley echoed it yesterday
there-
with Cap and J Hood. If you don't agree
With
with,
AK?
AK, you are out.
There's a bit of a
Yeah.
He called it a
it's been-
dictatorship.
yeah,
he
that's-
called it. His words. He called it a dictatorship.
It's you. You can't necessarily disagree with what AK wants.
Oof,
He says
boy.
he'll listen to your suggestion once, but as soon as you keep bringing it back up,
Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you this, Carmen, because you covered the team throughout the early years of this. I don't ever recall Pax having the team in this type of spot.
No.
You know, he actively tried to win.
Yes.
And even when the teams had less talent, the group he was putting out there on the floor gave a damn, and they played great defense, and they were worthy of fans' support. And like I asked Abdalla yesterday, like, I would love to know off the record what Pax thinks of what's going on right now. I know that he is an advisor to the organization still, but like he gave answers when he would talk to the media.
Yeah.
These guys, and what I heard on Wednesday night from Eversley, my Lord,
It's
what
terrible. It's
is
terrible.
stumbling all over himself, not really giving a
you're
clear
right.
direction on what they want to accomplish.
The
I don't get it.
messaging is terrible. Pax took over a team in about 2003, if I've got the timeline right. I mean, obviously they were terrible coming out of the dynasty. Nothing of what Jerry did and what he tried after the dynasty really worked. And Pax knew that, and look, he was the play-by-play. He was the analyst. I mean, he was in the organization and things were kind of like cultivating. But so he had some ideas, but he knew he had to break down that entire thing, Chris, to your point, the entire thing. And within a couple of years, everybody was gone. Yeah. Everybody was moved on from. Tyson was really the last one to kind of, I mean, like, so all, to your point, it was, he identified how bad they were and the mix of players they had was just terrible. Mm-hmm. And everything was changed. Coaching staffs, assistants, scouting. He hired new people. He promoted a couple people from within that helped retool their scouting department, and a couple of those guys that are still in the league have gone on to great success in different organizations. So it was like everything had to kind of be broke down, and he knew it. He's like, I get this whole roster needs to be changed, and he did it, and they were competitive. This organization is far worse off right now compared to when they fired Pax and Gar. And then you're right, Pax is still kind of with the team. But
he's not running the team anymore.
It is far worse, lest anyone think.
And
far worse.
The idea that they essentially, for the last 3 years, have done nothing.
No. They've done nothing.
Like that, I would imagine that would irritate Paxson.
I'm sure.
Right? Like,
yes.
you're not improving to the goal of actually ever winning, and you're actively not doing. You're not making trades. Mm-hmm. You're not doing anything with the roster.
I imagine his thoughts would be, "This is what you wanted."
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You wanted me out.
I'm just saying, like, it's just weird when you look back since 2015 how things have changed so much with this team. And Carmen, you pointed out there is apathy and the care of the casual fan. It seems like they are doing a very good job of killing any interest or passion from the Chicago sports fan.
Yeah,
the way they're handling their business.
The results have been bad, and the messaging is bad. It's all bad. Do they realize it? To me, sometimes it doesn't seem like they do.
No, I think they kind of do, because it's the not announcing Donovan's contract and all this kind of stuff.
But that would have been something to be positive
exactly, about. But they don't.
The podcast thing.
Yeah, the podcast thing. Apparently,
did you see that?
No.
Yeah. So Chizen removed it from the site.
Yeah, CHGO. There was a podcast posted last week with Casey Johnson talking about AK's extension.
Yes.
And that podcast has been removed from CHGO's site.
Oh, is it CHGO or Chizen?
Isn't that the same thing?
I thought, no.
CHGO and CHGO.
Oh, yeah. Whatever.
Chungo. There's Chungo and Chizen.
Chungo and Chizen.
I can't keep them all straight.
Chizen. Now, and I think Agras said that the Bulls had nothing to do with that. Right. Maybe Chizen's fallen on the sword.
Somebody got yelled at.
Well, what is that all about?
But if it's factual reporting, what's the problem here?
I don't know. That's a great question. What is the problem? That is a great question.
Cowley is, as a member of the media, says that it's an FU to the media. That basically they're saying that you guys can report everything you want to. We're not going to confirm anything. This is a big FU to you guys. And because the way you cover us. I don't do
the way you cover it. Win a game.
We win something. The pettiness of that is like next level.
That cannot be real. That can't be real.
He said it, man. I don't know what to tell you. He's a member of the media. He covers this team every day.
No, I know. He does a great job. It's widely known and reported that they all got extensions. And the coach did a great job last season.
That's something you should be celebrating.
Yeah.
Yes, if you believe that much in Billy. And I guess if you believe in any of these guys, well, what are you hiding from? Why are you extending them if you don't want people to know if you're embarrassed by it?
Okay, I'm going to raise my hand and ask a question. Has Michael Reinsdorf ever conducted an interview on the record about the Bulls?
He's not like the old man. Listen, Jerry's older now. Jerry's not in the public eye much anymore by choice. He doesn't need to be. Jerry's pushing 90 years old. Jerry Reinsdorf used to talk.
Right.
Jerry Reinsdorf would do interviews. Mm-hmm. Jerry would bark that they'll never get another bite at the apple. But Jerry would talk.
Did Michael talk when they hired AK and Eversley?
He never talks.
That's what, because I feel like a lot of these questions are just questions for Michael Reinsdorf.
Yeah, but he's not going to talk. AK might never talk again.
No. Now we'll just send
Eversley
out to do it. Now.
That's what Paxson did with Gar at the end.
Yeah, but again, he had some.
Yeah.
No, but at the end
he did. But he
put
also
him out there as the meat shield.
He was there.
He had some skins on the wall, and he kind of was like,
I get it, but now you say, all right, GM, this is your job now. We gave you 5 more years.
He did. Pax got
there.
sick of talking to him. He's too confrontational. He's too much of a red ass. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm going to send Gar out to do it from now on. He's like, that's enough. He's too feisty. 312-332-3776. Our blood's going talking about this team. We care more than most, it seems like. But my God, like, what is your message and what is your plan? And if it's going to be bad, fine. Like you said, next year's going to be like a great draft. And like, you could strategically do some things to set you up where you're picking off some really good players. And then if you can develop them, like, great. Message it that
Like
way.
Theo
then.
came in and did that,
Right,
didn't he?
right.
Theo came into the Cubs and was like, "We're going to suck."
Well, it's
for a
like
little bit.
the old conversation we always have with football, right? If we find the one at quarterback, but you miss the playoffs, we would all be okay with it. If next season, if it's clear that Matas is about to become an all-star,
Yeah.
and they're the fourth worst team in the league, and they're going to be in the
Fine.
lottery.
That's great.
We would all be ecstatic
Yes.
that Matas turned out to be that good and that they have a chance at the number one pick.
That's right. We'd
that
be
would
like,
be a
that's
fun
awesome.
season. That would be a fun season.
Amen.
You're
I
not
agree.
losing fans by doing that.
I agree.